Baseball is back. It has been exciting to see Major League Baseball navigating this unprecedented season. And a great example of that, the Toronto Blue Jays, who are heading back to the playoffs for the first time since 2016. They'll be playing the Tampa Bay Rays. And if you think about what's happened over the last couple of months, remember when we weren't even sure where home field would be for the Jays, but between navigating that and the talent on the field, it certainly has been exciting, especially for the president and CEO of the Toronto Blue Jays, Mark Shapiro, who has been kind enough to join us ahead of the big playoff push by the Jays. Mark, thanks very much for joining us. Congratulations.
Thanks, John. Good to be with you.
So let's just start big picture for a second. I highlighted everything that's gone on these last few months. What stands out for you with this season as you reflect?
I think two things. Obviously, the scenario was inconceivable coming in, but the things that have been most persistent and most on display, kind of driving the success, has been our guys' resilience from not knowing where they would train, not knowing where they would play, to really uncertain challenges along the way. And then their pervasive belief in each other and their talent. I think it defied what people on the outside, experts, and even I kind of felt was possible this season, but that's been a driving factor in their success.
You know, it's really interesting to hear you say that. And here on the network, we talk to a lot of CEOs. We talk about how they're communicating with their teams. And in professional sports, you got to work hard to get to where you are. So no doubt a lot of driven individuals that make up this club. But can you walk us through how you go about ensuring that communication is right and you're still able to motivate, even if it's beyond your expectations? Because I think there's a lot of businesses trying to navigate through this right now.
Well, obviously, communicating this year when the reality of so much isolation is a part of being safe to keep guys on the field is a significant challenge. But I guess my overarching response to that question would be it really starts with identification. If you have to pick players that you need to motivate, you probably pick the wrong guys. So when we look at identifying players, whether it's amateur players in high school, university level, or trading or signing as free agents like a Ryu, we're looking for guys that are motivated not just to be good, but to be great, not just to be great, but to be champions, and to recognize that doing that within a team framework is really what it's all about. So I think it gets back to identification more than it does motivation of any coach or any front office executive.
I think one of the other really interesting things to watch, it's not just baseball, it's every professional sports league, is when there are limited fans or no fans who often are motivating some of those players. What does that look like? And maybe you can tell us about this Buffalo experience. We didn't know where your team was going to play. It came together very quickly, but everything would suggest that that city and those who were helping to get this to become a reality did help to inspire the players as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, two things. One, the no fan piece is something that, like everybody else in this world, was an adjustment. You do feed off fans' energy. I think we still appreciate and know our fans are out there, so it's been a shift in hearing them and seeing them and knowing they're present. And secondly, on Buffalo, I mean, I think at one point our players, we sat in a small meeting with some of our leaders and we said, we're going to make this a competitive advantage. We know that other teams are playing in their major league home. We had to convert, and our business operations group, led by Marty Starkman, did just an unbelievable job of converting a AAA facility into what felt like a home away from home, had a lot of the identity of Toronto, reminded our players they're playing not just for Toronto, but all of Canada. So we made it a positive, and I think that, again, gets back to the perseverance, determination, and grit that our players showed all year long.
And I guess, what are some of the takeaways from the experience as well? I mean, you're here, you're in the moment, your team's about to have a very exciting season. You, like everybody, see the constant updates from governments and medical officials. I mean, I'm sure some people are curious to know when the Jays might return to Toronto. It seems like a very difficult question to answer right now, but what are you watching for, and what's that communication like for you?
Well, this year's been, from a leadership perspective, has been a lesson in managing through uncertainty and reminding ourselves that we need to continually adapt and probably to focus on what's most important. So from a pure Blue Jays perspective, I think it's continuing to execute on building a sustainable championship team. and ensuring that this year is not just one year isolated, but the start of many opportunities to play postseason baseball. From the realities of the pandemic, it's recognizing what we can't control, getting back to controlling the controllable, and ensuring that we're doing everything possible to execute on what we can control and not wasting energy, being inefficient, focusing on the things we cannot control.
And then I think with a lot of different businesses, certainly in our business, the media, the business, there's been the opportunity to try some new things you didn't necessarily try before. This playoff push, for example, is very unique. We've got a new structure in place this season. What are you going to be watching for? Is it too early to say whether or not this is something that might stick as well? Maybe sort of changing the way by which the championship run plays out.
I think that there are some great opportunities that we took this year from a Major League Baseball perspective to look at some creative rules, and I think a lot of them, from the extra inning rule to potentially a modified postseason format, all were positives. I think getting more fan bases involved, I think you have to be really careful, John, probably not to expand playoffs too far because you don't want to dilute the meaning of what it means to get to postseason. But we were looking from the competition committee. It's a committee I'm on with MLB. To potentially expanding the playoffs, and I think getting more fan bases engaged late in the season, especially over a normal 162-game season. There is a lesson to be taken away from this year. It is exciting. Hopefully we get back to 162 games in a full season next year, but there are some real takeaways from the modified rules this year that can help improve the game.
Okay, before we let you go, obviously a lot of excitement for this team, a lot of young hard workers and some veterans as well. How does the team prepare for this playoff run? Give us a sneak peek on what we should be watching for.
Well, I think it'd be, watching players like Bo Bichette, Kevin Biggio, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. coming to their own, and then the veteran guys that you mentioned. We don't have many of them, but, Ryu pitching for us in Game 2, has a chance to be pivotal. It's an interesting dynamic. Never before, 3 games in a row, all on the road in front of no fans. We just need to figure out how to win 2 out of 3 games against a very good team in Tampa who we're very familiar with. So I think our players have done a great job in trying to achieve, their own level of normalcy and go out and execute and have fun. Which is really important, but also compete at an intense level. So we know what's at stake. We want to, live to keep playing and go out to California after this, and it'll be fun and exciting to watch. So tune in tonight at 5, and we feel the support of Toronto and all of Canada behind us, and we're appreciative of that.
Mark, great to have you with us. Thanks so much for the time, as always.
Thank you.
That's Mark Shapiro, President and CEO of the Toronto Blue Jays.